My marriage was restored through faith. It all began with a crack that seemed small, but it widened over time. My husband, James, and I had been married for 8 years. At first, our life felt like a dream. A home filled with laughter, shared dreams, and unshakable trust. But somewhere along the way, the pressures of work, raising 2 kids, and the monotony of routine crept in, chipping away at our connection. I noticed a change first in little things. His distant stares during dinner, the late nights at the office, and the way our conversations turned into cold, mechanical exchanges. Then came the gut-wrenching revelation. I found a text message on his phone that wasn't meant for me. It was a message to another woman, someone I'd never met, filled with words that used to belong to me. Anger and betrayal crashed over me like waves, and for days I couldn't bring myself to confront him. I felt paralyzed by fear, wondering how to salvage what we had built. When I finally found the courage to confront James, he admitted everything. He confessed to an emotional affair that, thankfully, hadn't turned physical but was nonetheless a betrayal of our vows. I wanted to walk away, to pack my bags and leave behind the man who had shattered my trust. But something inside me whispered not to give up. I remembered our wedding day and the promises we made, not just to each other, but to God. My faith had always been a cornerstone of my life, but now it was being tested like never before. One sleepless night, I fell to my knees and prayed harder than I ever had. I begged for guidance, for the strength to either forgive or let go. In that moment, a sense of peace washed over me, and I felt a quiet conviction to fight for my marriage. James and I began counseling with our pastor, and it wasn't easy. Every session peeled back layers of resentment and pain, forcing us to face truths we had both ignored. James admitted he felt unseen and unappreciated, and I realized I had been so consumed by motherhood and work that I had overlooked his needs. Healing didn't happen overnight, but we made a commitment to rebuild. Not just for ourselves, but for our children and the life we envisioned when we first said, I do. We started small. Weekly date nights, heartfelt conversations, and prayer together every evening. Slowly, trust began to take root again. Through it all, faith became our anchor. I clung to the belief that God's grace could mend what was broken, and James embraced the idea of redemption. We learned to see each other not as adversaries, but as partners in a shared journey. Today, our marriage isn't perfect, but it is stronger. The cracks that once threatened to break us have become part of our foundation, reminding us of the power of forgiveness and the resilience of love. Faith didn't just restore our marriage. It transformed it. It taught us that even in the darkest moments, there's always a path back to the light. As we continued to rebuild, we realized that restoring our marriage wasn't just about fixing the broken pieces. It was about creating something entirely new. James took it upon himself to demonstrate his commitment daily, not just with words but with actions. He became more present, more engaged with our family, and more intentional about nurturing our relationship. I worked on my own shortcomings as well. I had to let go of bitterness, which wasn't easy. Forgiving James didn't mean I forgot the pain, but it meant choosing to move forward without letting the hurt define us. I had to trust him again, little by little, and that required opening my heart in ways I hadn't before. One of the pivotal moments in our journey came during a retreat organized by our church. Surrounded by other couples, many of whom had their own struggles, James and I shared our story for the first time. As we spoke, I felt a profound sense of healing, not just for us, but for others who listened. We weren't alone in our struggles, and the shared vulnerability reminded us that love is worth fighting for. Our children noticed a change, too. The tension that once filled our home had been replaced with laughter and warmth. We involved them in our journey, teaching them about forgiveness and the importance of family. It was humbling to see how much they looked up to us, even during our weakest moments. Faith continued to guide us as we rebuilt our marriage. We started volunteering together at church, leading a group for couples who were struggling. It became our mission to offer hope to others, just as we had been given hope. In helping others, we found renewed strength in our own relationship. Years later, as I reflect on those dark days, I can see how they shaped us into who we are today. They taught us resilience, compassion, and the importance of leaning on God when our own strength wasn't enough. What seemed like the end was, in fact, a new beginning. Now, James and I celebrate not just anniversaries, but milestones in our journey of healing. Every small act of love, every honest conversation, and every shared prayer is a testament to how far we've come. Our story isn't one of perfection, but of perseverance. It's a story of how faith restored what seemed lost and built something even greater in its place. When I look at James now, I no longer see the man who hurt me. I see the man who fought for us, who chose love, and who continues to honor the promises we made. Through faith, we found our way back to each other, and for that, I am eternally grateful. The years that followed became a testament to what faith and dedication could achieve. As James and I deepened our bond, we uncovered layers of our relationship we hadn't explored before. We began dreaming together again, about our future, about adventures we wanted to take, and about the legacy we hoped to leave for our children. One of the most profound shifts was how we handled conflict. In the past, disagreements often escalated into arguments, fueled by unspoken frustrations and misunderstandings. Now, we approached each other with patience and empathy, striving to truly listen rather than react. It wasn't perfect, but the effort to understand each other's hearts made all the difference. We also leaned into gratitude, a practice that became a cornerstone of our renewed relationship. Every evening, before saying our prayers, we would share one thing we were thankful for about each other. Some nights, it was something as simple as James cooking dinner or me taking care of an errand he'd forgotten. Other times, it was a deeper appreciation for the growth and love we had cultivated. These moments reminded us of the blessings in our lives and strengthened our connection. Our journey of restoration also inspired us to set new goals together. We decided to start a small side business, a dream we had talked about years ago but never pursued. It became a shared passion project, allowing us to combine our strengths and work towards something meaningful. The process brought out the best in us, reminding us of the teamwork that had initially drawn us together. Our faith community continued to play an essential role. We found mentorship in older couples who had weathered their own storms and emerged stronger. Their wisdom was invaluable, and their stories of resilience gave us hope on days when doubt crept in. In turn, we became mentors to younger couples, sharing our story with honesty and vulnerability. There were moments when the past tried to haunt us, triggers that brought back painful memories or insecurities that resurfaced unexpectedly. But we had learned to face those moments together, rather than retreating into isolation. We would remind each other of the progress we had made and the love that had carried us through. One particularly special day came when we renewed our vows. It was a quiet ceremony with just our closest friends and family, held in the same church where we were married. Standing before James, I felt a surge of emotions, love, forgiveness, and an unshakable faith in the future we were building. The words we spoke that day carried a depth and sincerity that only time and trials could bring. Now, as I sit here reflecting on our journey, I'm overwhelmed by the beauty of redemption. What once felt like the end of our marriage became the foundation for something even more profound. Through faith, we found not only restoration but also transformation. Our story is a reminder that no relationship is beyond saving when love and faith lead the way. And while the journey wasn't easy, it was worth every step. Today, James and I continue to grow together, not just as a couple, but as partners in life and in faith. Our marriage is a living testament to the power of grace, forgiveness, and the unyielding belief that love can conquer even the deepest wounds. As time went on, our marriage became more than just a relationship. It became a ministry. We felt a calling to use our journey to inspire others who were struggling in their own relationships. What began as casual conversations with friends grew into something larger. James and I started hosting small gatherings at our home, inviting couples to share their experiences in a safe, judgment-free space. The goal wasn't to offer perfect solutions, but to create a community of support built on honesty and faith. We shared our story openly, the heartbreak, the hard work, and the healing, allowing others to see that even the most fractured relationships could find redemption. These gatherings evolved into workshops at our church, where we guided couples through practical tools for communication, trust building, and forgiveness. We invited guest speakers, including counselors and spiritual leaders, to share their wisdom. Each session ended with a time of prayer, reminding everyone that faith was the glue that held everything together. The transformation in James was one of the most beautiful aspects of this journey. He went from a man weighed down by guilt and shame to someone who embraced accountability and growth. He became a powerful voice of encouragement for other men, sharing his struggles and victories with humility and grace. Our children, now older, began to understand the depth of what we had been through. We shared parts of our story with them, not to burden them, but to teach them the importance of love, commitment, and forgiveness. They saw firsthand that relationships require effort and that even when mistakes are made, redemption is possible. One of the most meaningful moments came when our daughter, now a teenager, thanked us for staying together. "You showed me what real love looks like," she said. Her words were a profound reminder of why we fought so hard for our marriage. Our faith deepened as we continued to grow together. We read Scripture regularly, finding new insights that applied to our lives and marriage. Verses like love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 7, became anchors for our hearts. We also made it a point to celebrate life's joys, big and small. Whether it was a family vacation, a quiet evening at home, or the success of a couple we had mentored, each moment felt like a gift, a reminder of God's grace in our lives. Looking back, I see how the storm we faced was a catalyst for profound change. It tore us apart only to bring us back together in a way that was stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. The cracks in our relationship became a mosaic of grace, filled with God's love and our unwavering determination to fight for what mattered most. Our story isn't just about the restoration of a marriage. It's about the transformative power of faith. It's about trusting that even in the darkest times, God is working for good, weaving a narrative of redemption and hope. As we move forward, I know challenges will still come, but I face them with confidence, knowing that we are equipped with the tools of love, faith, and resilience. My marriage was restored through faith, and it has become a beacon of hope for others, a testament that with God, all things are possible. The journey of restoration didn't just transform our marriage. It reshaped the way we approached every aspect of life. Over time, James and I began to see our story not only as a personal victory, but as part of a larger plan, a testimony to how faith and perseverance can turn trials into triumphs. Our workshops at church became a steady source of encouragement for us and others. Couples would come to us privately, sharing their struggles and doubts, and we'd listen with open hearts. We didn't have all the answers, but we had the assurance that God's grace was enough. For every couple who walked away stronger, our own bond deepened further. Eventually, our ministry expanded beyond the walls of the church. We were invited to speak at conferences, community events, and even to lead online seminars for couples who couldn't attend in person. Sharing our story on a larger scale was intimidating at first, but it became a way to spread hope to those who felt alone in their struggles. The most humbling part of this journey was witnessing how God used our pain for His purpose. People would approach us, tears in their eyes, thanking us for being vulnerable enough to share our story. Some said it gave them the courage to stay and fight for their marriage. Others said it inspired them to open their hearts to faith for the first time. Through these experiences, James and I became more attuned to the needs of others, not just in their relationships, but in their lives as a whole. We started a nonprofit organization focused on marriage enrichment, offering resources, counseling, and support to couples in need. This organization became our shared mission, a way to give back and to create lasting impact. On our 10th wedding anniversary, we stood before our family and friends and shared a reflection of our journey. James surprised me with a letter he had written, filled with gratitude for the second chance we'd been given. His words moved me to tears, a poignant reminder of how far we'd come. In that moment, I realized that our marriage was no longer defined by the pain of the past, but by the joy of the present and the hope of the future. We were living proof that restoration is possible, not because of our own strength, but because of God's unfailing love. Our children, now older and more aware, often ask us about the early years of our marriage. We tell them the truth, not to burden them, but to teach them that real love is a choice made daily, even in the hardest moments. We hope our story serves as a foundation for the relationships they will one day build. Now, as James and I look ahead, we are filled with excitement for what's to come. We continue to grow individually and together, always striving to be better versions of ourselves. Every new challenge is an opportunity to strengthen our bond, and every victory is a testament to the power of faith. If I've learned anything through this journey, it's that restoration doesn't mean returning to what was. It means creating something new, something even more beautiful. And with God at the center, there's no limit to what love can achieve. Our story is far from over, and I'm grateful for every chapter we've written and those still to come. Together, we'll keep moving forward, hand in hand, guided by the faith that saved us and the love that continues to sustain us.